Welcome back, Cal listeners. This is Methodical Millions, where you can better your future and better yourself. Cal, we've got another awesome guest with us today. So everyone listening, please welcome Amber C. Payden from ThinkSmark. Amber, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing awesome, thank you. And where are you joining us from?
I am joining you from Akron, Ohio, but I live in Chicago. But I'm at my parents' house right now.
That is awesome. Always good to see family.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is always
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. I've actually been to Chicago. We did our work took us to a Chicago Cubs game with Toronto Blue Jays. So
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you were there that weekend, but they played like 2-3 games back to back, and it was the first time in 50 years or something crazy.
Yeah, that was a big game. But the Cubs it's a whole experience. I always tell people when they come to Chicago and they have time, they have to go to a Chicago Cubs game of all the sports because it's everything around the stadium. It just kind of gives you like a really good idea of how Chicago handles sports in general. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I loved it. And, soccer is pretty big too. And we actually went to a Toronto FC game with Chicago Fire. Like it was back to back. It was an amazing.
Wow.
I know, it was crazy.
Yes.
And not to boost up Toronto too much, but we ended up in this one section with all the crazy Toronto fans who actually drove down and had like a beating drum and face paint. It was really cool.
Yes, I think people don't realize how big. I was actually out with some partners 2 weeks ago, and they were kind of like, how many sports are really in Chicago? And I was like, we have a lot of sports teams, actually. And they're like, oh, yeah, you guys have like Chicago Fire. And I'm like, those games are huge. When I was working with, I was a national account manager for James Hardy. We had a skybox there. And we had a lot of Polish and Mexican American contractors and builders that we deal with. And they were fighting for tickets all of the time. It was insane. Like, I did not understand like soccer at that level for the United States until I was at the Chicago Fire game. And I was really impressed with how many people really get into the games and like follow the club. And it actually is a really cool experience. And the stadium itself holds a lot of cool concerts too. So it's definitely something, if you're in the city and want to try something new, I would definitely go to a Chicago Fire game over a Bears game. And people probably kill me for saying that, but that's just my opinion.
I agree. I totally agree. I've never been to a Bears game, but Cubs all the way.
It's not
was great.
bad. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a great atmosphere. So Cal, there's 2 baseball teams in Chicago. It's a huge city. You guys have a lakeshore like Toronto. And, I'm actually half Polish. And my mom actually told me that there's the most Polish people in Chicago outside of Poland, which I thought was some really cool trivia. Yeah.
Yes. There's a huge Polish, Lithuanian culture, like a lot of Eastern European culture in Chicago. The thing that sucks is like it is a very segregated city. But the cool thing is if you are open-minded and you're okay with like exploring the different neighborhoods, you kind of feel like you're in some of these like countries because people really stick to their neighborhoods and try and cultivate their cultures from where they're from. So you can really kind of like go from Jamaica to Poland to, the Philippines. Like there's all of these different neighborhoods that give authentic food from the cultures. So that's the benefit of it being kind of a segregated city in that way, that you really can embrace like a lot of different cultures and people if you're open to it,
Oh, 100%. Whenever we're going to visit, we'll give you a shout. You can give us another tour.
Yes, of course.
And I love jerk chicken, so I'm expecting some really good Polish food. And I've never been to Jamaica.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I know.
Jerk chicken, yes. You're in Toronto. Isn't there a huge like Caribbean culture in Toronto?
Massive. I almost eat jerk chicken every day. Yes. It's good. I just want to try from Chicago. It's fantastic.
Yes.
In a lot of ways, I think people compare Toronto to Chicago. Have you been to Toronto before?
I have. So being from Northeast Ohio, we kind of are like a suburb of Canada. We always joke because like if I went to the Niagara Falls or Toronto like one more time as a kid, I think I would be like, I'd rather go somewhere else. It's like an easy drive, from like what Niagara Falls is like 4 or 5 hours from us. So that was a fun vacation. In Toronto, my parents went for New Year's with friends. So yeah, I'm very familiar with like that more eastern part of Canada for sure. So
totally.
Toronto's a very clean, beautiful city. I live there.
Yeah, it's great. Except I
Yeah.
think rents are really high now for some reason. But I've been to Marysville actually in Ohio, and I think it's like a 6 hour
Really?
drive or something. Yeah, it was again through work. So they
Okay.
took us
Like,
somewhere cool.
why?
They took us to Miami too. It was a I know. Well, it was through
Wow.
work. I went on a racetrack. It was a lot of fun.
I was gonna
So
say it had to do with horses or cars or something like
yeah, it was
for the
cars.
reason.
Yeah, you got
Okay,
it.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it reminds me, Cal, of like London or Windsor, where it's just London's actually really cool, London,
Yes.
Ontario, but Windsor, where it's just like empty roads and yeah, a lot of outskirts. So, but the funny about I was talking to a friend who said that Toronto's actually very southern. It's like the New York of like it's close to New York, it's close to a lot of things, and like if you've ever been to Montreal, it's close to the U.S. border too. So we're definitely friendly neighbors. Awesome. So, Amber, thanks so much for joining us. I want to
Yeah,
start out and ask you a question. So, what
sure.
gets you excited about life?
A great question. Especially right now being in startup phase. I think just the hope for what's to come and the people I have around me. There's days where things can be so tough, but getting a funny meme from a friend can change your whole mood. Or my little brother putting up a video of my niece who's 10 months. It's those little moments that get me excited. Taking a day and just kind of exploring the city with my camera and taking pictures with no real agenda. So I would say what excites me is just the little moments that kind of can shift your attitude. If you're having a bad day, they just kind of pull on you and remind you that whatever you're going through at that moment, it's not that bad.
Yeah, right on. And there's a lot to be thankful for. And a lot of modern day life perspective is everything because I think once you realize you come from a place of thanks and then say, opportunities everywhere, I think, you can choose how you frame your life and,
Hmm.
it makes a huge difference.
It really does. And my mom had a conversation with me actually yesterday because of having a company in our acceleration stage and really trying to secure certain funds and getting things, in a certain, like I have these revenue goals. And she's like, it's not all about reaching these numbers and achieving all of these things. Like it's about like just being present and appreciating those moments in your life that you can't get back. And when I think about like my oldest niece is now 16 and it's like, where is time gone? She was just like a little girl I was holding, and now she's at 22 and now she's an adult asking me for makeup. But it's just like, I think the excitement is just like life and those moments with people and things of that nature. So,
Yeah,
and
totally.
appreciating them.
Oh, 100%. And I think sometimes, we all have our rough patches and it's going through those
Yeah.
that helps you appreciate the good, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you don't understand it totally at the time, but in hindsight, many of my failures, I'm kind of like, wow, I'm so grateful things didn't work out. I'm so grateful I got beat up like this because I learned so much in the trenches. And I think some of us are so afraid to take risk and learn something different or meet new people. And all of the times where I've really stepped out of my comfort zone or met new people or made a mistake in business, it's always made me more have a better perspective on life. It's always helped me to be more grounded and more aware. And it gives you a humility around like the way you think, the way you're doing things is not always right. And there's other ways to do it, and the other ways aren't bad. And you learn that things, there's ebbs and flows, and I just don't think we do that enough as people. And if we did, I think more people would feel more grounded and appreciative of who they are and who other people are.
Yeah, totally. And it's a very insightful, view, I think. And I think it's good. It's powerful because you can actually reframe who you are and say, I'm going to, work on something interesting or I'm going to see the world in a new way. And I think if people are not open minded with culture or people or endeavors and entrepreneurship and all that stuff, like I think it does hold people back. And, as you're speaking, I'm kind of wondering, why is there this wall that people put up with the safe route, which is, like you said, relationships or new projects?
Mm.
And, it could be the safe job or the safe path of who you network with, really. And what do you think that is? What makes safety so appealing, or is it how people are going to look if they try something different? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. I would say that one of the main reasons I believe people play it safe is because the unknown is so scary and you can't control it. And so I think there's a level of control that a lot of people have that can't allow for themselves to just let go and let things take that risk. It's sometimes as simple as, some women I know are afraid to just wear a red lip. And I'm like, what is the red lip going to do if you just wear it tonight? Oh, I don't want to look a certain way. I don't want to this and that. And it's like there's all these hangups and so I think that the control and the fear of what other people are gonna think is what keeps a lot of people from actually like going out and doing something and taking that risk. It's kind of like that old story, like the 90s rom coms with the teenage rom coms, where it's like the star athlete likes the artsy girl and he connects with her, but it's like such a secret because he doesn't want people to think that like he is like this girl because of what it means to like her because she's different. And it poses this idea that if he's a football guy, he can't be an artist. We can't be multidimensional. That's impossible. So people stay in these little boxes based on what other people think, I believe, and how they want people to see them. Instead of understanding that we're not one dimensional, we have so many different parts and facets of who we are. And we need to embrace that with different people. It's okay to be the star athlete as well as a great vocalist and an artist. And, but I think we've just kind of put these labels on things that have caused for a lot of people to just stay in their safe spot and not venture out.
Yeah, that's a point that you bring that I've been preaching for years. I had this conversation with a lot of my loved ones, my friends, and the societal labels that we put on things that is not a hard rule, just an idea or habit or just tradition that this is the way it should be. And it dictates our lives, which it shouldn't, obviously. So you bring a fantastic point here that I've been really preaching for years. And I've been actually guilty of being one of those people, not pointing out on others, but just towards myself. I would just think that I shouldn't do this or shouldn't do that because I'm afraid of people might judge me. And the moment that I decided to move away from that and just do what I need to do to better myself, to improve myself, regardless of what others think, as long as I'm not harming anyone, then that's the moment that I actually felt that I was set free. It was literally, it felt like a light bulb coming on. It was such a eureka moment for me to realize that even though people have been telling me that, I just couldn't get away from it. And then I just got to a point, I think, that it was very, very difficult. I was going through some challenges at work, but basically it was so difficult that I cared so much of what people thought of me, and it still didn't get me where I wanted to be. And I thought, forget that. Absolutely forget it.
Absolutely. And I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and we were just talking about like, how so much of what society has created, which we all need structure, right? But we've created these hard labels and expectations. It's like, you go to school, you go to high school, you focus heavily to get into a good college. From college, you want to meet a nice girl or guy or partner in life that you can kind of deal with, or you explore and have a good time in your 20s. You get a good job, you get a promotion, you find a girl, you guys get married by 30, and then you buy a house. And 35 in our society, you should have it all figured out, really, right? Like the newer generation is kind of pushing back on that, but you should have your kids, your MBA should be done, your career should be established, you're moving into bigger roles, whatever company you're at, or entrepreneurship should be figured out. And that's where you should be. You should have the home and the cars and the kids. And what we're finding in our society, and if anything, COVID showed us this, is like people aren't satisfied. I have friends, including myself, we're heading into our 40s, some are in our 40s, and we're like, this is not it. Like, they tell us to get married young. You right out of college or before 30, have kids, and then what? I think that we've put so many stigmas on what's successful, when you should be successful, what does success look like, what's the hierarchy of it. And if you don't achieve these certain things, or if it doesn't look exactly how it should look for the cultural norm, then you haven't really succeeded, and it's just not fair. It doesn't give a lot of people the opportunity to explore and learn because there's so much pressure to get to the next stage. And I find that dealing with a lot of my friends, as now going into some in their late 30s, early 40s, some are happy and others are just trying to figure out what is the next step and what does that look like for their life. And so I employ anyone that's younger to just really take some risks while you're young and meet as many people as you can and make some decisions that may not make the most sense, because it'll lead you down a different path that could really actually lead you in a different direction that might be healthier for you going into your latter years.
Yeah, I totally get you. And
Does that
I
make
think,
sense? Yeah.
no, it does. Like, I'll use myself
Mhm.
as an example. So, you grew up and like I did pretty well in school, but I ended up dropping out of university. And here's why. So,
Mhm.
didn't know what I wanted to do. I argued with my mom about, she was saying you have to go. And I really like music, but I didn't want to like waste money on that. That was my thinking
Mhm.
or her thinking. And I had a scholarship for it was called undeclared arts. So you just get into what
Yeah.
ended up taking was philosophy, because I had a really good
Mhm.
philosophy teacher in high school, which really opened my eyes. And then I did well, did that for about a year. And I try to think ahead of like, well, what do I do? Like, I'm not going to have a job I love. And like getting a regular job just seemed not too exciting, because I realized I'd just have the same job for 20 years and be
Mhm.
really, really sad inside. Like, I wouldn't feel fulfilled. It wouldn't
Right.
be,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is what being adult is. It sucks. Yeah. Like, I wasn't portraying who I was inside to the world. And it was not a good feeling. And then you have to realize, well, you gotta have to live somehow. So, I buckled down. I switched gears into car sales. And the pivot there, in case anyone's wondering, I went from having the best job in university to like the worst job as an adult, quote
Uh-huh.
unquote, because I was a
Yes.
valet driver, drove nice cars, made good money, but I didn't want to be
Mhm.
a valet driver forever. So I started moving cars at a dealership. And that's like bottom basement, entry level job when, my friends are graduating. And, I was smart enough to
Oh,
graduate.
yeah.
It's just, I was like, I got to get off the train now or else it's never going to happen.
Mhm.
So, you know, philosophy is amazing. It teaches you how to think, and but you can
Yes.
get really in your head. So I was like, I gotta do sales and like
Mhm.
try and well round myself a little bit. So that was kind
Right.
of that path. And funny you mentioned COVID, because Cal and I, we were talking about this for a little bit, and what prompted this whole thing to start was pandemic. Like the week after pandemic, we aired our first episode. So this has been an
That's
amazing
awesome.
journey of, yeah, exactly. So talking to like amazing people like yourself to connect with
Mhm.
people who are improving their lives, discovering what gets them excited, or just starting cool
Mhm.
projects. And we would never have met likely otherwise unless Twitter
Right.
existed. Or it really sucks that people 20 years ago probably didn't have this channel to tune into. So like open your mind to something specific. Now with the internet,
Mhm.
we're all connected. So what I encourage people to do is, instead of just taking in, so you always had taking in advice, taking in what the right path is, and sticking to
Mhm.
for that safe path, for example. And you're not going to live a bad life, but then one day you might wake up when you're 50, 60, 80 and say, what the hell did I do? Why didn't I try
Mhm.
that one thing? So, a recurring theme I always see on here is try stuff. That's like the number one, because there's not one right answer. That's the first thing school should teach. It should teach like it's okay to do anything. And the advice is what I find, like
Yes.
you, Amber, you brought up a great point, which is life is an ebb and flow. It's ever
Mhm.
evolving. There was that
Mhm.
stat of like the newest jobs people are training for in college didn't exist 5 years ago. Like, how many like influencers in like YouTubers, content creators, these Shopify gurus, entrepreneurs, it's all a cool space that none of our parents are, qualified
No.
to talk
No.
about that. So how can you
Like at all.
possibly get advice from someone who has like didn't even understand that this space exists. And like one of my favorite lines is be curious about the world, because then you'll say, well, what if there's something to this? And there's no expectation of, you don't have to have an expectation of becoming well off from it. But if you indulge and like lean into, the new space, like there's a lot of new people into crypto or entrepreneurship or all these little things, then you see the opportunities in front of you and you take a little bit out of your day to do that. And all of a sudden you can meet new people or you can learn something. And it's really a race against yourself, because if you want to be happy, I would say you have to appreciate and have a baseline of like thankfulness of, life could be worse. There's a lot of places in this world where, people are going through some really shitty things. And it's tough because we all live our lives. And as much as like, I think people want to say, oh, I'm going to save the world. Like it's a hard thing to do. You need a lot of money, a lot of time or experience. Like you have to learn about a space before you can comment on it and help. You can't just say you're going to cure cancer and not study or world hunger, all the common stuff, And so what I always say is like, grow in your area that excites you. And then over time, when you grow and evolve, then you can give back. And then all of a sudden, you can give someone a job opportunity, or you can give someone advice, or you can, change their life forever by something you say, or give them encouragement, and like even something intangible. It doesn't have to be money. So I think we're now in this, we call it an awakening, or the space of realization of, the world is almost how you make it, because you choose who you connect with.
Yes, I 100% agree. I believe that it will be our fault if we choose not to expand on our networks, because we are given the gift of a global economy, a global network, and global travel easily now. So if people can, at least in more first world countries that choose not to expand and go out and do and be and meet people, they're going to be left behind, really. Because just like now, this whole podcast, like you reaching out to me, I could have been like, that's weird. I'm not going to meet with these guys. I don't know them. I don't know what they're going to ask me, but it's just taking the risk. Like, hey, these guys reached out. I reached out to them, love to be on the podcast, talk, meet new people, and vice versa. Like, and that's the benefit of just making those connections. Like, what is there to lose? Now I know more people in Toronto, and meeting you guys can connect with other people and vice versa. Now you know somebody in Chicago. You never know who I know. And it's just, if people would just do a couple of things, like every year make a goal to meet 3 to 4 new people by sitting at a train stop or in the park and just meet people. You never know where it'll take you. And so I'm 100% with both of you all with what you were saying. And I think we need to do more of it in our society, because we have the luxury to connect virtually as well as in person now.
Oh, 100%. And the thing that I think, I always use the example of our version of Times Square is called Yonge and Dundas Square. It's a very small area, but I went to school there, and you would have people handing out papers and shouting to the crowd. And being in college or university, whatever you want to call it, you'd walk by and you'd say, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to talk to them. And, I've got my day. And there's an assumption made. I would make that too, which is like, I wouldn't think they're crazy. It's just like, you would never interact with them. So I almost liken that to say that there's a time and a place. So you can't go, something you're super have a big conviction about. You can't always just stop people on the street, but you can talk about it online. You can DM people. You could do this thing. And then these are how the connections are made. And there's a time and a place. So, podcasting I love as a medium, because I couldn't talk about this stuff at work. Even with family, like, it's a 5-10 minute conversation. I don't know. Like, so there's something unique about connecting online. And I think passion's contagious. So people who love to do stuff and grow. And I think this is what is going to help drive the world forward. And I think at the end of the day, like, we did it for a couple of reasons, to track our progress and our intent to kind of do cool things. And I could never expect the value back we're getting, like, for having these conversations. It just pumps me up. It really sets me on a certain level for the whole week. And I just love it, because it reminds me why I'm me, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. It makes a ton of sense. Like, we feed off of each other. And when you have good, authentic conversations, it gives you perspective. Because then when you talk to people and you really listen and hear what they're saying, and you're engaging in a healthy conversation, it's exciting because it invigorates you, it gets you excited when you have authentic conversations and people are really real and they talk about things that kind of are relatable. And I think the cool thing about conversations like this is that we can talk pretty high level around our individual experiences, but we all interconnect and can relate to the story and can bring it back to ourselves and still listen authentically. And I think that's what gets you excited. And that's where you can hear the excitement because it's like, man, this person has a completely different journey than me, but the nuances are very similar. And that's why I preach like authentic networking and connections, because the more we meet other people, we realize that we're not so different. And there's a lot of themes in all of our lives that can interconnect and bring more authentic conversations and stories to the forefront when meeting and learning about ourselves and other people.
Yeah. What I get from this, and like what a common theme here is that, when you talked early about like people taking what they think is the right path, keep in mind that people usually giving that advice also did the same thing. So who was the first person who decided that, university was the right way, and let's say college, and then, like that track you said, like it's people following people over and over and over again. And like, so does anyone actually believe that? The problem is if someone's whole life is built on what they think others think of them, it's an illusion. And I think you're right. They're afraid to be wrong, and they just hold so strongly onto, this is my job, I'm doing okay. Like if I have to hear another person tell me they've got a master's or, they're an engineer, like it's the first thing they say. It's fine. Yeah. It's fine. Like, but where's the connection? You can't just put your chips on the table and say I'm better than you. That's what it feels like. Have some humility in life. Yeah. And like, I don't even know if it's intentional, but it's just, and it doesn't make them bad people. And I've met, it doesn't mean you're smart, not smart, but at the end of the day, I don't think people like that are open to connection. They're not open to saying, this is my vulnerable self of, I want to learn and grow. I want to actually listen to like what you have to teach me. And, they just go into defense mode of like, anything flashy, like you said, like cars or jobs, or, it could be family, it could be where you live and how fancy your vacation is. It's all bullshit at the end of the day, because it's not a connection. It's not like the people even doing it doesn't even get them fulfilled. So I think, no, it's good we're talking about it, because getting to the real, actual part of the essence of like what drives people, it's a discovery process, right? Life's a journey. So I think it's okay to not know the answers. And then that's how you find out stuff about yourself and other people.
Oh, yeah. And my dad always tells me, like, just because someone's old doesn't mean they're wise. They're a bunch of old fools. And I never forget that, because you think about like the point of that statement is like, you think about older people being full of wisdom and information, but if that older person hasn't allowed for the grit of life or certain failures to change them and become introspective, they're just living and they're just doing the materialistic things that you're supposed to do at each stage of life and not really taking in the value of what each stage in life offers, right? And so I think it goes back to the point of what we're all essentially saying is that, people as a whole, we can stay in these boxes and we don't allow for ourselves, even in failure sometimes, to sit with that and understand what went wrong, how do we improve, and how do we fail forward and move forward. A lot of people will blame themselves, get down, or they won't take the time to look at themselves to be able to move forward in a better way, or they'll pass the blame on other people. But one of the key things I think with connecting with people, I would say too, is just being introspective and dealing with ourselves and seeing how we impact other people and how we deal with things and how do we make changes that are going to help us. That creates the wisdom. That's going to make you a wiser person. That's going to help you understand more of the quality of life and what that quality of life looks like when you're teaching others and having conversations like these.
Yeah, I gotta say, your dad is wise, definitely for saying that. I had that conversation again with my manager, to be honest, and yeah, it's just a funny story, but he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right, and it's the moment for me as well as the moment I realized that age is irrelevant when it comes to learning. So sometimes I can learn a lot from people a lot younger than I am. It doesn't necessarily matter that some people have that ego going on that
Mm-hmm.
because I'm older, I should know more
Mm-hmm.
or I do know more. And that's a
Mm-hmm.
problem. And which actually
Mm-hmm.
leads me to think smart or smart, right? So
Oh, right.
is
Yeah.
that basically what you want to share a bit more about that? So I'm curious what basically your model is.
Sure. So, ThinkSmark or Smark is an integrated business and creative services marketplace for small to mid-sized companies. So, we help businesses learn, grow, scale, and sustain their business at whatever stage they're in. And we do that by offering 10 key areas of business in the marketplace. So, our main tagline is less confusion, more clarity. And one of those, the whole point of Smart initially, I had a consulting agency firm and we did go to market strategies. And a lot of the organizations and companies that I worked with, from project based big brands down to the small individual brands, they all wanted us to do this cool sales and marketing strategy and build out this marketing campaign or sales trainings. They didn't have other tools in place, specifically the small and mid-sized companies, to be able to see the revenue success from sales and marketing. So I understood that there needed to be the 10 fundamental areas of business for people to be able to sustain their company at whatever stage they are in. So, how do we create a marketplace or platform that gives people a nimble, digestible point of view, products, services, and information that can help their business at whatever stage they're in? So that's where Smart came in. So it's marketing, sales and marketing and integration, but it's kind of a play on words. So, you have to dream big and think smart. So that's where it came from. And what we found is, a lot of companies, there's a lot of white noise out there. There's a lot of cool tools. There's experts in all different areas of business, but there's no one stop shop, one platform that streamlines all of the tools and products for small and mid-sized companies. And so that's where Smart comes in.
That's awesome. Good for you because I
Yeah.
think, number one is whenever people say like, "Oh, I need money," or "I need," like, people always make excuses about staying in their path like we talked about, and
Mhm.
it's easy to tell people to try, but getting the courage to say, "I'm going to actually do this." What was the turning point where you said, "I'm going to actually start?" Because I think it would be super helpful for our listeners who might be thinking, "Well, how do I start that project into something bigger?"
Yeah. So whew, Smart came from a couple of bad situations with clients and trying to service small, mid-sized companies. And I couldn't take it anymore. I was like, there has to be a better way that everyone wins. I have to find a way to create an ecosystem that allows for consultants and subject matter experts to be able to teach or create services and products that can help small businesses. And there has to be a way that I can create a pricing model that accommodates small business owners so they can afford the information to help them, start their business or sustain it. There has to be a way to do this because it's not working the way we're doing it. The small businesses, gig economists, freelancers, the United States, and I would say globally, we have not found a good way yet to accommodate the small to mid-sized businesses, gig economists, and freelancers. And so I was very focused on trying to find a way to create a model that everyone won and the corporation would win, the freelancers, contractors would win, and the small businesses would win. And they'd all end up helping each other and doing well for themselves. And because of that passion and failing forward again, I went to, my business background and skills to really like create models and software tools and products that really accommodated all sides and allowed for the pricing and the structure of the organization to help where we can. And so we rolled out our first initial product, which is an e-learning product, which is live interactive workshops. They're run by subject matter experts. And we have a couple of different solutions and SaaS product that's going to be rolling out next year. But the whole point is helping people ideate all the way to sustainability. And it really came from my own failures in the market and trying to get things going for myself from a business standpoint, and also being in corporate for almost 15 years and saying, like, okay, they have something that a lot of small businesses don't have, and that's resources, tools, exposure, and then obviously capital. So that's where the whole business came from.
That's awesome. So you can almost take someone who is at the, the early stage of wanting to grow and just kind of school them to kind of catch them up with what the big corporations know and what they're set up for. So is there like a ABC kind of model, or if someone just needs marketing, they want to come to you just for that? Like what's the, how do people find you that way? And how do people kind of go through your funnel of workshops,
Services.
let's say?
Yeah. So my CTO co-founder, Ikram, she's actually working on with one of our board of advisors, Dr. Sakir Jackson. They're going to be rolling out a quiz, an aptitude test that helps customers as they come to the marketplace identify if they don't know what they need. It'll target certain workshops that will work best for them and bundle them. So it'll be predictive analytics for the customer. So if somebody doesn't know what they need, they'll be able to go that route. We also are rolling out our Smart Strategists. And so Smart Strategists are kind of customer success managers that if somebody needs to talk to someone, they'd have a dedicated accounts person that can help them through the process. And then organically, the way the website's set up, you can click on any of the business areas. So you can click on sales and marketing, and it'll open up the workshops that are available. And you click on one of the workshops, and it shows you the times, dates, and the semester. And you pay, you purchase your workshop, and you're shipped a smart box that has your printed workbook, cool swag, and snacks all in one box. So you're ready to learn in a fully immersive workshop experience. So that's kind of the talk track right now. So a customer has like around 3 different ways that they can engage with the company right now to get the answer that they need. The new kind of like staged beta 2.0 website is rolling out Friday. And so you'll have all of the really cool key areas and workshops on the main page that they can kind of lead to the different decisions that they want to make. So if they know where they want to start, they can start there, or they can take a quiz and it'll guide them to where they need to go.
That's awesome stuff. Love it. How long do these workshops usually last? And is there like always, classes running?
Yes. So we offer workshops 3 times a day, 9 times a week. So they're 3-day workshops and 3-hour sessions. And all of the workshops are available at all of the times. So we're a pure marketplace. So, the cool thing is that there's a lot of options. If somebody can't afford to do it one week, they can take it the next week and sign up. And the different semesters, there's different workshops that are available, but we always have our standard 32 that will always be a part of the marketplace that people can take. And they're all of the fundamental business area workshops. Like we have a really cool Internet of Things workshop for Web3, blockchain, understanding AI and how that applies to your business. We have digital accounting, we have e-commerce, drop shipping workshop. And so you can take the workshops Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or 3 Saturdays in a row. And then the times are 3 times a day. And then the 3-hour sessions you can sign up for are all during the week and offered 4 times a day. There's a lot of different options for people, and we tried to make it as flexible and accommodating for people's schedules. So if they can't afford the 3-day, which is $2,500, they can take a 3-hour course, and it's $225.
That's really, really cool, actually, because you take away the barrier of the no money thing. So, not everyone has money and it might be a side project, but they want to learn. I think, yeah, a couple $100 is much easier than, like 3,000, for example. So that's
Right.
awesome. And what I like that it's more like piecemeal bite size, whereas something like a full college degree will be years and years. And then I think the
Correct.
biggest challenge is that the cost of education keeps going up. And I think when everyone has a degree, that there's diminishing returns and it doesn't
Correct.
capture the ever changing world. So I think you're really onto something because I can imagine, like you said, with Web3, and you can always change and add and iterate
Yes.
on. If it is a marketplace, this is going to be the place to go. Like there's always going to
Yes.
be some fresh content, and I love that. So where do you find consultants, and how do you vet them? Like how do you know if they'll be a good leader to teach? And I'm
Well,
curious
this
about
is,
that process.
yeah, it's super cool. So we always say once you've gone through the certification, it's out of our hands. When they teach a course, they're rated. So you will be able to see the workshops, the actual ratings of the instructor. So they'll have reviews and ratings on their landing page before you choose to pick a course or see who's teaching the course. They'll be able to see the ratings. So this model will eventually roll into similar, like a product as a service, like a Uber model. So it'll be on demand for consultants. So currently, Calling All Consultants is the campaign. If anyone is interested in being a consultant, it's smartcallingallconsultants.com. And you can fill out our entry form, your resume, 3 recommendations, and there's a whole list of questions that we ask, including a headshot, and that gets you kind of like in the review process. And then people really read themselves out, to be honest with you, because you have to go through a 3-day certification like you're teaching a workshop. So it feels like a workshop. You get everything like a workshop, but you're getting certified. So then once you're certified, you get a lot of cool like social media branding for your website for Smart. And then you also will have your own landing page that is a referral code so you can promote it and do all that you want. And when you get rated, if you get less than 3 stars 3 times, you'll be suspended from the marketplace for the year. If you have more than 3 docs in a year, you will not be able to come back to the marketplace at all. So that's how we manage the criteria, because people can give us one of the things that I found when we were doing some early research. People will tell you a lot of great things about how smart they are and what they know, and their resumes are like super great, Ivy League, blah, blah, blah. And they can't teach. And this is really about not just being an instructor, but being a guide. And it's like having a consulting session with a dedicated amount of small business owners, and you're working to guide them through implementing these skills immediately. So we want people that are smart, quick, spunky, that know the game, know entrepreneurship, or know how to work with small business owners, and give them the real life application so that they can apply this immediately into their business. We don't want a lot of theory. We want people that can get into it with these small business owners and teach them what they need to know to do what they need to do and empower them to do better. So I think that was kind of a long-winded version of what you were looking for, but
No, not at all. I love it. It's
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, I guess I kind of want to know, is this also like a opportunity for people who have skills to make money and they can run these workshops and get a piece of these fees? Is that kind of how it works for them?
Oh, yeah. So we traditionally have 3 campaigns with Smark right now. We have the global brand awareness campaign. So we have consultants from all over the world. So the cool thing about digital is that you can be global from the beginning. So one of the things that we have on the Calling All Consultants campaign is Your Time, Your Way. So we try and tell people, think of like the Uber model. You toggle into your workshop. Once 3 people sign up, if you're certified in that workshop area, you teach the workshop, you're paid out weekly, and you literally get a fixed rate. It's 2,500 out the door, and you can teach up to 3 3-day workshops weekly and 8 3-hour sessions. So you could potentially average, if you teach 21 workshops annually, around 52,000 a year. It caps at around 328, which is the average market rate for consultants. So that's how we created a model where it's a fixed pricing, but we've allowed for people to make enough that it's practical for if they were consulting or they need to pick up some money while they wait on their next retainer, they can teach a class a month and get a nice little side pay and keep it moving. And it helps us. And it might even generate leads for them because we're not competing with like agencies. They're normally partners of ours instead of, actually us servicing in that bundle, bigger accounts like that. So
Yeah.
that's how that works.
Brilliance. That's brilliant.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed. There's so many things about the business model and how you do things and how you manage them that I'm very, very, it could obviously be replicated in other businesses and other ideas that I find that this is fantastic. This is absolutely fantastic. You're not capping yourself or the people that you'll work with or your clients. No one's really capped to it. And there's a lot of opportunity. I'm just very, very impressed.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's taken a lot of work and a lot of people thinking I'm crazy. But it's really paid off. And I'm really excited about the brand. And I'm excited to see where it goes. People have asked me who are our competitors. And I always say, like, it's going to be hard for us to have a lot of direct competitors right now. But the more the brand gets popular, we're gonna have a lot of competitors. We're gonna have a lot of people that are gonna find different models within the marketplace that they're going to use, and that's fine. Everybody can have a piece of the pie. I worked for AT&T as a product manager, and I learned very quickly that we were fighting over less than 1% of the market from Verizon, and both of those companies do very well. So, you think about your competitors, but don't let your competitors, drive every decision that you make. So that's kind of where I'm at, and it's like, we'll see. This is going to be an interesting ride, and I hope you guys are around for it.
Oh, 100%. We're going to follow along. I just love it because no, it's really cool because I mean, you're empowering so many people on both sides, right? So like,
yes.
Consultants who like, that's the thing, like you said, it's just on and off income. So you're really growing the future of the world when it comes to making money online and, from people taking their skills they already have, like, I was talking to a friend about it. Why shouldn't you get paid for your skills? Why do you have to have a job where they choose what your value is? Why can't you take your value and make more money or whatever the hell you want to do? Like, it should be easy. So this is exactly what that is. It's kind of like plugging in your knowledge and your time in a totally unconventional in the past. I think it has to be the modern way. It's brilliant. It's so good because someone can just sit at their computer in front of a camera and I don't know if you do like any kind of whiteboard or anything, but they can teach like for 3 hours a day is very reasonable for a lot of people. And, you answered my question about class sizes. If it's going to be like, I think some universities will do like 1,000 people or 100.
I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's no way. They're just cramming as many people so they can make as much money. And, this is a very like bespoke model. It's, I think the value is going to be really high. So I think you'll also get a lot of probably repeat people. So if they have success in one of the modules, for example, they'll probably say, okay, well, what about social media versus marketing? And they'll kind of stay in the rabbit hole in that ecosystem. I think it's awesome.
Well, and the cool part about this, to your point, I think you guys will be excited about this. There are a lot of young people and giggers, or even, entry level all the way up to corporate extra cash or want to have some extra income. And this allows for them. So when you go through the certification, the software tool that we've created, it's idea to presentation. So let's say you guys know how to create and sustain a podcast, right? But you don't know how to really formulate that to teach it. We've created an AI tool or software tool that allows for you to answer specific questions that auto-populates your presentation and workbook that goes with your workshop, and it lives on your consultant dashboard. So now when you're getting toggled in to teach, you're already, once you've gone through the certification, you go to your dashboard, your lesson plan, your workbook, and your presentation are already there ready to go so that you can just teach and do what you need to do. So that's what the 3-day certification walks you through. And you're set up with all of the tools that you need to be able to manage that. And if you need to get certified in a couple of different workshops, you can, but that's literally what it does for consultants and giggers. So that it makes it easier for you all to do the work that you want to do and to teach and just get some extra income or make it like a full-time thing, depending on the supply and demand of the workshop that you're teaching.
This is amazing. It's so, so good. And, I didn't think of that of like you said, people don't know how to teach. Maybe they don't want to have the extra mental, overload of, they just want to show up, do the job, and then get paid.
Literally, yeah. That's it. And so this helps to kind of organize your thoughts in a strategic way that you can communicate it to your small businesses or customers that you're going to be dealing with. And it makes it smoother to understand and comprehend.
Yeah, totally. Amazing stuff. I love it. Is there a, I don't want to get too, I always hear it's good to specialize like Amazon did with books and then you can grow. Mm-hmm. Is there an opportunity to teach people language, culture, as you seem to be a fan of, or you could move to art or like all sorts of things? Is there a thought that might turn into something one day?
So it's kind of funny you say that. You don't know how many people have thrown so many ideas of workshops my way. And I'm like, no, we need to control the environment, the variable for at least 18 months. I got to keep these first 32, but the cadence will eventually be, we'll review cool workshops and they'll go under our SMARK niche. So like someone that might want to teach NFT or cryptocurrency or, how to develop artwork. There's so many different cool instructional things that people can do. That'll all fall under our purple color, which is SMARK niche. And so we will review those every 2 semesters before they roll out and make sure we have enough consultants or people that can teach it. We're hyper focused on, and that is a part of the company roadmap. And everything will eventually fall under what you all see now as ThinkSmark Inc. is going to be SMARK University, the product that we currently have. And then it'll be different products that will be available in ThinkSmark Inc., including a publishing arm, e-commerce site for shopping, for workbooks, and all kinds of fun stuff, an investor portal, partner portal. So there's a lot of different things we have in the roadmap, but we're trying to just stick with the first piece, which is education, sustainability, getting people to understand and trust the brand, take that revenue and continue to build out. And as people gain more trust and believe in the product more, they'll feel more comfortable trusting other parts of the company and the marketplace. And so to your point, yes, we do have a lot of different ideas around that. And we're welcoming people coming in and saying, hey, I have some cool ideas. I want to develop this and that. And we actually have created a bulk amount of stock options and equity in the business for giggers and freelancers so that they can feel like they're a part of an organization. I was really big on that. I wanted a certain chunk of the business to give stock to our freelancers and consultants that are helping us with the business.
Yeah, it's absolutely huge. It's so, so cool because I can see the evolution and you took the vision of having people connect with each other. I love how that was like the central theme of the beginning because it really merged it really well into what you're working on and the opportunities are endless. And that's what I think a good business can grow into. Right. And yeah, so I was going to say then you can rebrand your SMARK for I'm glad you mentioned sustainability because I guess to have people live a sustainable life is important. And that's what you're doing is letting them be empowered for things like making extra money. And, there's always seems to be a crunch on it's either wages or like time and just access to opportunity, I think is really lacking in this world. And it's great because you break down the barriers of the whole worldwide thing. And also there's no pretense of like where you're born, what your background is, where you went to school. And it's just the love of ideas, the love of learning. And that's really, I think, what this kind of thing should be about. So it's fantastic. And I guess you have to come up with the rest. Thank you. M for, I don't know, motivation, accountability, something R. Knowledge is a good one.
I like that.
Someone's got to come up with an R. Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Well, yeah, because when you rebrand to the university, this is the sales and marketing. It won't be enough, right? It's got to be so many.
Right. That's so. Oh my God, I love that. You get equity. No, I'm kidding.
I know. Maybe down the line, I'll have to add some value there.
We might have.
I'll be a consultant for something. But no, it's absolutely brilliant. It's this is what gets me excited. And at the end of the day, like, how can you not just leave this conversation and be in love with life? You know, that's all. Yeah. It's always what brings me back to doing it, and that's amazing. Love it. So,
go ahead, John. I just want to say, I usually, if I don't have anything good to say, I keep it to myself. But I am so excited for you. I can't remember the last time I've been this excited, and I have nothing to do with it. And it's just so exciting because I think you've cracked it. This solves so many issues, whether it was time for people working or time for people taking the courses, whether it was the frequency, the money, they're in control, and the opportunity, the things they can learn. I just followed Smark's Instagram page as we were speaking right now. It's just brilliant. I just can't wait. I can't wait to see what's next. And please, please, please stay in touch and let us know what happened, because this has been absolutely brilliant.
This means a lot to me, because just being transparent as human to human, like it's been a hard year. I've had a lot of ups and downs, and I've had some weird sicknesses. I got COVID, and it's just, I've had to fight really hard through a lot of adversity, a lot. And I have a strong faith, and God has really gotten me through a lot of moments that I didn't think I was. And so moments like this, it's like, these are the moments that you appreciate and you take away, and you're like, this is what's going to get me through this next December. This moment right here, where just to hear your excitement and connecting with you guys, we didn't know each other. And that's what's cool about this. You know, I appreciate you guys having me on the show. It's just really nice to have connected with you all. And it means a lot that you all said that. So, and you picked up on it very fast, which is another value we'll add to this conversation.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you just wrapped it up there, and you've answered what the R stands for: resilience. That's what it should stand for. Yes. Really, really good. I'll send it to you. Don't worry. You can write them down.
Gosh, and I know it's a contract.
100%. Let's make it happen right here. So, no, it's really good. You're just you're such an inspiring character, and I love how much drive you have with it. And this is really what I want people to take away from this conversation, which is that when you have this like in a bottle, which is the excitement, and this is really what makes the world better. I think this breaks down everything. Anything that should be impossible is possible, and really just comes down to loving life and moving the world forward. So what an amazing conversation. Thanks so much, Amber. And we'll definitely keep in touch.
So much. You guys have a wonderful weekend. Take care.
You as well. Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
So with that said, let's wrap up today's episode. Thank you for listening to another episode of Methodical Millions, where you can better your future and better yourself.
Thanks, everyone.